Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. And I wanted to dedicate an episode on human evolution and the cycles of ascension in relation to events on the planet Earth and what it means. We get a lot of discussion of this in the New Earth material going all the way back to the Mayan prophecies of the way that humans are going through a cycle on this planet with our bodies. And I wanted to discuss this a little bit more in relation to the law of one material. According to many, many sources, including the spiritual hierarchy, the Egyptian god Ra and Edgar Cayce, indicate the creator essentially got bored and lonely in the distant past. Approximately 4.5 billion years ago, the creator needed something to do. It wasn't a feeling complete by experiencing unified consciousness all the time. The oneness all the time wasn't enough. It got boring. So it conceptualized the idea of breaking itself into parts, or oversouls, composed of many souls, with the spirit made in the image of the creator. The creator, according to this material, knew that the souls within the oversoul would be able to evolve by their own free will. These souls were given the option to make their own choices and decisions. As a result, each oversoul would have many individual soul opportunities for many new experiences. Consequently, each soul would experience something that the creator was not yet able to understand or comprehend. These individual souls made in the image of the creator are composed of a crystalline structure that is analogous to a quartz crystal, according to Robert Pettit in his book Physical Body Ascension to the New Earth. According to Pettit, when complete, the soul is multidimensional and composed of 617 facets. As a human soul evolves spiritually, the structural features and arrangement of these facets change to register the individual's spiritual evolutionary status. Each individual soul that makes up the Oversoul has its own creative ability and is a co-creator with God or Goddess, whatever you want to call it. Now keep in mind the need to take care of your soul. Your soul can become damaged. Its facets can be lost, stolen, or given away. Thus, you need to give frequent attention to keeping your soul together and functionally efficient. Check out my meditation, the Soul Retrieval Meditation, which is really focused on bringing your soul back together. You need to give attention frequently to keeping your soul together and functionally efficient. This would require several episodes to talk about, to describe in detail. However, it is very important in understanding your spiritual progress and the real you. I would recommend, for additional insights about your soul's features and functions, refer to the book Remarkable Healings by Shakuntala Modi, MD, or Your Immortal Body of Light by Mitchell Gibson, MD, and Dr. Gibson's workshops on the human soul are available at www.tybro.com, tybro.com. Also refer to the book Cosmic Insights into Human Consciousness by John Hornecker. You can get that on Amazon or a variety of other places. The great plan envisioned by the one creator was that the completion of a 4.5 billion year universal cycle, all of the soul parts that had evolved would come back together in their oversoul. They would recognize the God-Goddess consciousness, renounce separatism, embrace unity, Christ consciousness, and return to the totality of the oneness. The creator would be enhanced by all the wonders that the fragmented parts had created. This is exactly what Neville Goddard is talking about regularly, about all of us being ourselves pushed out, all of us being God, the same God, a being that is multiplicitous in its nature. One thing that Goddard refers to often is the Elohim, As a part of this universal plan, the creators, or the Elohim, which is the plural form of God in the book of Genesis, envisioned a planet with harmony and love for all of creation. However, other duality creating entities inserted themselves within the original paradigm and altered its original design. We get a discussion of this in The Bringers of Dawn by Barbara Marciniak, also in the Law of One material when they talk about Orion influences, as well as the Sal Rochelle material, Robert Pettit's book, a variety of other books, including the Dolores Cannon work, which refers to a negative confederation of planets. I talk about this a little bit in my episode on the confederation of planets. The result was the establishment of a sort of duality consciousness between the Elohim and what you would call these aberrant creations, these interlopers. The Law of One discusses the benevolent creations as service to others, organizations, groups like the Confederation of Planets in service of the one infinite creator. And then the aberrant creation is the service to self. The Orion group, described in the Law of One, is a group that is all about the self, that is continuously involved in human evolution, in manipulating it for the self, for secret societies, for the Illuminatis, who knows? These two creations are characteristic of all extraterrestrials and humans currently residing on all low-frequency planets throughout the universe, including ours, which is a low-frequency third-dimensional Earth. The higher frequencies are 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. We're in the lower frequencies. Currently on Earth, each individual's method of operation is either service to others, service to self, or a percentage combination of the two. However, that pattern is coming to an end as the new Earth, I believe, is restored to its original destiny as designed by the Elohim. It's unstoppable. That is, those on the new Earth will exhibit a method of operation classified as service to others. In the Law of One material, it indicates once the planet is designated as a service to others planet, everybody else reincarnating as service to self will go to other planets. This is your last chance on this planet. Very well could be a homogeneous group of a variety of different reincarnated souls from multiple planets that have had to relive their lives in third density that didn't make it to fourth density in the past. The behaviors of those who followed the interlopers, including the Illuminati and their selfish desire for power and control, will be put to an end. It's part of the natural plan. There is no way to stop the power of love. These negative polarity that take on a human appearance have been given a choice concerning their future. Likewise, species of animals and plants have been given a choice that many have already made. I believe, as does Dolores Cannon and the Law of One material, that specific humans, animals, and plants will transfer to the new Earth, another planet existing within the same space as the Earth in a different density, while others will be leaving to reside upon a planet compatible to their vibratory pattern or state of dimensional consciousness. They'll simply return and play out all the same karmic journeys that they have been doing for millions of years. Many are concerned when they notice that certain species of plants or animals are leaving. However, according to Pettit, spirit indicates that at this point in the evolution of Earth, humans are saving various species may be arrogant. The Earth can and will survive. After all, Earth has survived for eons through a massive amount of continued abuse. Humans have destroyed the Earth in the past and are again destroying its water, air, and soil through greedy attempts to take, without regard for what that taking process does to all life forms. Humans have destroyed the Earth of its circulatory system of oil, minerals, coal, life-giving mineralized soil, and many other energy patterns. Why? Because humans still lack an understanding of why these physical features or energy patterns are placed on Earth in the first place. Everything that provides for human survival on Earth comes from the Earth. The planet's natural resources are rapidly being depleted. As a result, human beings living on Earth have fallen into a pattern where they constantly decline physically. They die and then reincarnate in a repetitive pattern. To counteract humanity's abuse of the planet, a wave of change is taking place. That is my belief. I believe that it's orchestrated by the creators and maybe some benevolent extraterrestrials. Who knows? These outside intelligences, these extraterrestrials have intervened many times in the past and are the reason conditions on Earth can still support life. They're currently planning to cleanse and rejuvenate third dimension Earth after humans have vacated it. Many of the Elohim and extraterrestrials have incarnated on Earth in human bodies. They are anchoring the energy of change and renewal to facilitate the rejuvenation process. Check out my episode on starseeds, or the several episodes I have on starseeds, or the playlist on starseeds on my channel. To carry out their responsibilities, it will be necessary to evacuate all those destined to inhabit the new Earth. It would appear in the evolution of this planet in the past that all biological life is sometimes removed for a sort of rejuvenation process. The possibility exists that all graduating evacuees will be taken by extraterrestrials in their physical bodies to a designated interim location. One can dream, right? Wouldn't I love that? Maybe that will happen. Facilities at this location will help prepare each human graduate to be returned to the new Earth when it is ready to receive its new inhabitants. There's a lot of discussion on YouTube channels and different channelings that could be what happens. We will be saved by extraterrestrials and then brought to a new Earth. Some people have experienced visions of this in QHHT sessions. It's certainly possible. The law of one material would indicate there are dual activated bodies where people can be dually activated to move to the new Earth, but you may also be experiencing this in reincarnation anyway, even if it's not in this physical life. One reason the current third dimensional Earth will have difficulty supporting human life is because its soils are rapidly losing their ability to support plant growth. But that's the old Earth. The new Earth, everything's going to change. A majority of food products grown throughout the world originate from stressed, sick, and diseased plants and animals. In the new Earth, there is a sort of love that takes over the plants and animals, and the food becomes nourishing. Perhaps we don't even need to eat, as Neville Goddard indicates, that we don't have to go through the bowel process in the new Earth. There's no need for bathrooms. And that we eat out of joy. We remember experiences of eating from joy. That's a part of the new Earth. Humans have mined the soil of trace minerals. And according to the book Survival of Civilization by Donald Weaver, we simply cannot survive a multitude of trace minerals becoming imbalanced. Animals become sick. So the Earth becomes sick and it goes through a transformation process. Humans in the historic past have destroyed the life-giving soils on Earth several times. Each time all biological life forms died and were physically cleared from the Earth to facilitate its rejuvenation. Each time this has happened, the Earth has entered a resting period, and during this resting period, restoration of Earth's minerals has taken place. The restoration process frequently involves dramatic temperature changes, tectonic plate displacement of land surfaces, glaciers covering a large portion of the planet. For the third dimension Earth to support life in the future, it must become uninhabitable for a time to restore its ability to support life. It has been scientifically established that humans are currently destroying the Earth and its ability to support life. Every day we witness how these destructive patterns create health challenges. Many of these challenges that appear as diseases are due to stresses induced by a lack of proper nutrition. There should be no fear associated with these potential events. All souls are eternal and will continue in various forms until the universal cycle is complete. Various kinds of ascension in spirit or physically are pathways a soul can take when leaving Earth. These procedures have been prophesied and taught for centuries in every major society on Earth. I believe there's a cyclic pattern in the universe, in the galaxy and our solar system, and it's just a part of the natural pattern, just like when your flowers die out during the winter and come back in the summer. There are many different cycles throughout the universe. For example, a 4.5 billion year cycle called the Day of Brahma in the Hindu tradition is the length of a given creation. There's also a 206 million year cycle in which our solar system makes one revolution around the great central sun of the Milky Way galaxy. Another repeating cycle occurs every 50 million years, during which, in the past, all life on Earth has been spontaneously destroyed. Therefore, following an equilibrium period, life returns generally at a different vibratory frequency. Scientists have been studying these cyclic events for many years. Geologists call this 50 million year cycle a punctuated equilibrium. For example, geologists at UCLA have discovered that the mass extinction of the dinosaurs occurred at the end of one of these universal cycles. As the cycle came to a close, several chaotic events took place that changed the resonant frequencies of the solar system. Although the dinosaurs are now physically extinct, their soul essences remain in holograms. All components of the universe have been designed to follow specific cyclic patterns. Each of the creations that make up the universe, such as the galaxies and the solar system, has an individual consciousness. The Earth has an individual consciousness. The galaxy does. All of these individually created parts are part of the overall creator source. A galaxy such as our Milky Way is a conscious being that creates a design for its components, the stars, and creates different sections of light within it. And their solar systems, stars, are aware of the entire range of dimensions and have free will in terms of how they carry out the galaxy's plan according to the law of one material. They are the logos for this particular area, and there are different levels of logos. All planets have their own consciousness. It's such an exciting idea. According to the Edgar Cayce readings, each planet has its marching orders from the divine. Only humanity has the free will to defy the will of God. However, each planet has some say as to how intelligent life evolves within or upon its surface. Previously, at the end of the universal cycles of 75,000 and 25,000 years, which is mentioned by both Walter Russell and the law of one material, these same cycles, some fairly dramatic cosmic events have occurred at the end of these universal cycles. As each solar system is evolving, the structure features of all matter in that system's change. Some of these changes are brought about by a spiraling, tornado-like wave that is ejected from its sun. The spiraling coil pushes the planets into spheres of energy that create and maintain a higher vibrational frequency. According to Pettit, the spiraling coil wave from the sun has qualities of both radiation and intelligence. These bursts of spiraling energy from the sun have increased recently and are zapping all creatures on Earth. It's almost like a sexual experience between the sun and the Earth, constantly going on, creation happening. This increased level of zapping always occurs at the end of these cycles. Scientists have studied these bursts of energy given off by the sun, but so far have been unable to understand exactly what they are and how they influence the Earth and its living systems. It is known that as the Earth moves farther from the sun, the number of days in a year increase. During Atlantean times, the calendar year had 360 days. Due to the last polar shift at the end of a 25,000-year cycle, the period of Lemuria in Atlantis, the Earth moved farther from the sun, and 5 days were added to the calendar year. As the Earth moves away from the sun, it also expands in size. There is one theory that I'm very interested in, and that is that each planet in our solar system has evolved life on different levels of consciousness. And you can go all the way to the farthest ones to see an example of life, meaning that Jupiter's had life, Saturn has had life, and you won't see it now because they've all transcended and ascended to higher levels of destiny. But you can certainly see it on Saturn, where you see this hexagonal design on the bottom of Saturn, meaning an active Merkaba on that planet. So each planet might have gone through an entire millions of year cycle. You may be reincarnated from the souls that lived on these planets. We will only know what we're allowed to know at this time. So as it moves away from the sun, a very dramatic change could occur on the Earth at the end of one of these larger cycles, as it has in the past. Originally, Earth had one large landmass called Hyperborea. Because of massive volcanic and tectonic plate shifts, that continent broke apart, resulting in the formation of the Earth's current continents. This dramatic shift not only changed the physical features of the Earth, it also created a dramatic jump in the evolutionary cycle for its future inhabitants. Some scientists now believe that this shift significantly influenced the evolution of humans on Earth. A shift in the human form from the Neanderthal to the Cro-Magnon modern man occurred as this burst of energy engulfed the Earth and caused the breakup of Hyperborea. So at the end of the planet's cycle, all life is destroyed. Life returns following an equilibration period. Now, there's possibility that it's the same planet, to the Dolores Cannon material, and possibly the law of one material sort of indicate that the planet exists, but it's outside of our awareness, that it's a secondary planet, that it sort of splits like a cell in the laboratory. Each time it does this, the Earth goes through a shift, and all the life on the planet from before restarts, and the new souls go on to the new planet, where they continue to refine themselves, moving up in learnings and knowledge. We're being upgraded, changed, taught by each of these experiences. A soul inhabiting a third-dimensional planet generally requires 3 25,000-year cycles to complete its lessons for graduation onto a fourth or fifth dimensional planet, according to the law of one material. According to the law of one material, the 75,000 years ended on 2012, or around that period, as I have given future recitations of channelings that indicate that there's an extension period beyond that, where souls are still making the choice whether or not they are service to others or service to self. These graduations occur at the end of each cycle according to the law of one. Often at the end of a cycle, not all of the human inhabitants qualify to graduate. If the third dimensional planet on which they resided made the decision to shift to a higher dimensional state of consciousness, then those who failed to graduate must be removed and taken to another third density planet to continue their lessons. This whole cyclic procedure does not happen by accident, but is orchestrated by a group of ascended celestial beings, much like you, who perhaps in the future you'll be one of these beings who work within the Milky Way galaxy. These celestial beings are part of a group allied with the Confederation of Planets in service to the one infinite creator. According to the law of one material, the Confederation members govern, oversee a large section of the Milky Way galaxy, and are collectively responsible for managing the transfer of souls from planet to planet. There are many references in historical records that point out and prove at the end of a planet's cycle, all life thereon is destroyed. For example, according To Ra, in The Law of One, we have the following quote: "If a third density planet has reached the end of a cycle and is about to shift into a fourth density, then those inhabitants who are not ready to graduate will end up reincarnating on a different third density planet. This does not happen by accident or simple conscious intention, but rather involves intelligently guided transfer of the souls themselves and of the appropriate genetic material for the creation of physical bodies that will match up with the souls. This planet hopping process is managed by groups of interplanetary cosmic beings such as Ra, and as star systems are continually moving into different zones of energy throughout the galaxy, there is always work to be done. From the reference point of Earth, these beings are referred to as angels, celestial beings, ETs, or perhaps the lords of karma. You can ignore a statement such as this about the nature of reality. However, your beliefs will in no way change the cyclic nature of how the universe was designed and currently functions. It has been established that at the end of each 25,000-year cycle, planets automatically shift in consciousness. In this case, planet Earth has been directed to shift into fourth and fifth dimensional states of consciousness. That move will take place by the simple law of physics, whether the inhabitants are ready or not. However, all humans residing on a planet that will go through these cyclic shifts have choices to make. When a planet shifts to fourth or fifth dimensional states of consciousness, a third dimensional entity cannot live on that planet. Not only will there be no life support systems, but the DNA of a third dimensional creation will no longer be supported by a spiraling tornado-like torsion wave specifically designed for the new DNA characteristics of a fourth or fifth dimensional entity. To inhabit the new planet, evolving humans will have to receive new DNA strands. The single-stranded DNA characteristics of the physical body will be replaced with 12 high-frequency strands positioned in several different bodies, according to Robert Pettit, as well as Barbara Masiniak in the Bringers of Dawn episode, so check that out, that we had 12-stranded DNA before, and we will be getting it again in this new upgraded evolutionary change. Keep in mind that souls who choose to die and transfer to another third dimension planet most likely did not come to Earth at this time to graduate and ascend. They plan to die, just as they have in their past lives. Trust that your spirit has designed your experiences according to your divine plan. There is no judgment outside of self. Each soul has the free will to follow its own individual and divine plan. If you've chosen to die and lack an understanding of the death process, then there is help available. Some individual souls currently residing upon Earth have been called into service to become death walkers, those who can assist someone in the death process. I would definitely check out Sadhguru's description of death, which is an amazing book. These individuals have the ability to move back and forth from the physical earth plane to the other side, where spirits are void of dense physical bodies. Death walkers can help someone die by becoming one with the dying entity and creating a pillar of light to travel upon, helping them move in consciousness. There's some books out there on it. I would definitely look it up. The near-death experience is similar to this process. Many of you are familiar with near-death experiences as described in many different books. These are people who have died, or in my case, could have died. It's both a catalyst for change in your own consciousness, or you have a touch or taste of the spirit coming back to it. It changes your whole understanding of the universe. One really fascinating thing about all this material that I love to read is that there's an urgent request for light workers to assist those in need. The earth has been calling out needs individuals who will stop what is happening on this planet and step forward and assist those souls in need. For example, some need help in regaining the power to heal themselves. Others need help in dying. They need someone to guide them off the earth plane and into the lower octaves of the fourth dimension. Such help can be considered a gift to that individual requesting help and your opportunity to be of service to others. In fact, Spirit indicates This may be one of the greatest gifts you have to offer someone who has chosen to die and pass over. One way you can assist is through the use of sound. Toning, singing, or playing specific relaxing music is often very helpful. You may also be requested to help those who have already died and have become discarnates. They left their physical bodies on earth, but they don't understand where they are or where they are supposed to go. You are all aware that many of those souls have become earthbound, lost their way, and become attached to some place on earth. They need help in finding their chosen timeline to continue their evolutionary path. You can only help others when they have requested your help, so be careful to avoid interfering with anyone's chosen contract. Many light workers on earth have been asked to assist disincarnates to help them go into the new plane of existence that is meant for them. Evolutionary patterns continue to be seen in soul groups as well. Soul groups generally evolve together on a specific planet. If they fail to graduate at the end of a cycle, they are kept together and transferred to a new planet as a group. Generally, this procedure has worked quite well, since all souls have free will to make what they consider their best choice. However, in the last 75,000 years, a serious challenge has developed. Relatively small groups of humans on different planets have failed to graduate at the end of a 25,000 year period. In most cases, those who fail to graduate have been repeaters on their planet. That is, they failed to graduate after 50,000 years. Since they again failed to graduate at the end of 25,000 year cycle, a question arose as to what options they have concerning their continued evolution. In most cases, the number of humans within the group of repeaters was relatively small, according to Pettit. It was difficult to justify providing a whole planet for each of the many different small groups of souls. So after considerable deliberation about how to solve this problem, Earth was chosen about 75,000 years ago to take in these small groups of souls from many parts of the galaxy. So in the history of the galaxy, this type of experiment supposedly is incredibly uncommon, according to Carla Ruckert and the Quo material. That is, it is very rare to have a planet chosen to accept such a wide diversity of human races originating from so many different planets within the galaxy. No other planet has such a wide diversity of humans with so many different galactic backgrounds. Just visualize in your mind the many different races on Earth now. Have you ever wondered why each race originated from a different planet? There are various Caucasian groups, Slavic, Mediterranean, and Western European, Oriental, Japanese, Filipinos, and Chinese, the Thai American Indians, dark-skinned tribes of Africa, native tribes in South America, Eskimos of the colder climates, and others, all living in groups on one small planet. All of these human races and tribes previously resided upon different planets before they were given a choice and brought to Earth, according to Edgar Cayce. The majority of all human races residing on Earth are repeaters. So those who failed to graduate from the former planet at the end of an evolutionary cycle, all of those races on Earth that originated from different planets within the galaxy were assigned to third-dimensional Earth to continue their evolution. For example, the Chinese race came from a planet revolving around the star Deneb, according to the Law of One Material and Edgar Cayce. Creator source indicates that the differences between races have a genetic basis, and those differences should not be erased. According to the Edgar Cayce readings, these genetic differences are an aspect of the inner character and harmony of the soul. Keep in mind, these repeaters came to Earth 75,000 years ago, and most are still here. As outlined within the Law of One Material, these repeaters have had chances to graduate at the end of 2 previous 25,000 year cycles. At the end of the first cycle, not one single human graduated from Earth. Normally, 20% of the human population graduates at the end of the first cycle, 60% of the end of the second cycle, 50,000 years ago. After 50,000 years, only 120 humans graduated, and they stayed on Earth to help those who failed to graduate. We're doing something wrong. billions of people on this planet, we can't graduate because we're so focused on ourselves and we can't overcome it. We're being manipulated into staying in the service to self. So it's kind of a confusion or gray period that's occurred where we don't quite reach the point where we overcome ourselves. Another contributing factor that can account for many differences in the structural and emotional features of the human body is a scientific procedure called genetic engineering. Many scientists now believe that jumps in the evolutionary features of humans can be correlated with a combining of the genetics of off-planet races with individual humanoids on the planet. According to the Barber-Messiniak material, we were downgraded genetically. These genetic manipulations create a type of hybrid body derived from a cross between different human forms. Many of us are familiar with genetic crosses made to transfer the reptilian brain from the reptilian race into the current physically designed human body. There are many sources and accounts of the potential influence of genetic engineering on the human vehicle. During Atlantean times, many different hybrids were created, which, because of their deviant purposes, displeased the creators. One interesting hybrid discussed in the Law material that I created an episode on that I didn't release a while back is that dolphins are humans that were genetically modified eventually so that they could survive in that environment. Here we are 75,000 years later, and a majority of the human population on Earth is unaware that the next graduation is happening right now. There are approximately 7 billion humans currently on the Earth, probably more. Extraterrestrial records continually updated indicate that currently about 2.5 billion, or less than 25% of the population, has even had a passing thought about preparing to graduate. Why are such a small number ready to graduate? Some possible answers as to why humans have failed to prepare for graduation may be helpful. First, consider the majority of Earth inhabitants are totally unaware that graduation is even possible. Most people don't even know about it, and they laugh at me when I talk about it. It sounds completely insane. This opportunity has been withheld by dark forces in a desire to maintain their slaves. Second, as mentioned, many souls were repeaters before they were assigned to Earth. This brings to mind 4 more questions. Why would a repeater have more difficulty to graduating from an Earth school where mixed races reside? And 2, why are there so many human souls currently living on Earth totally unaware of what is taking place? 3, how has the free will given to each soul entered into the failure rate? And 4, what influence have the negative polarities and the Illuminatis and the dark groups had on slowing down spiritual evolution? Here's an example. We get a discussion in the 90s to 2000 during the New Earth discussion in 2012 about a Great Awakening happening. Then we have the Great Awakening taken over, the message of it taken over by weird conspiracy groups on the internet, those of which I will not even name, that have used politics and other arguments about cabals that have nothing to do with this new Earth. And if they do, it's tangential and unrelated to what's going on with you. One possible cause of the lack of incentive to graduate is that repeaters have been segregated as a group. If you are aware of what it's like to teach a class of repeaters, segregated because of their reduced mental and emotional capabilities, you may understand what is happening on Earth. In the public school system, individual students with limited learning abilities have been segregated and lumped together in special education classes. My mom taught these students in elementary school and found that to be very difficult. When segregated out, they lack the incentives or stimulation of fellow classmates who have superior mental and emotional capabilities. Thus, now we have an attempt by educators to place these students in a normal class when possible. God, Goddess, and the creators have been very aware that the experiment of placing many different races of repeaters on a single planet has failed to solve the challenge of how best to help these repeaters spiritually evolve. procedure of moving them to one single planet may have helped solve the problem of what to do with so many small groups. However, it appears that the procedure has created other challenges. These repeaters have undergone all kinds of spiritual suffering, much of which has made their lives on planet Earth very difficult. Because of the anticipated number of graduates from Third Dimension Earth, a call has gone out throughout the galaxy, according to Dolores Cannon, and the universe for help. Following a review of Earth's population by the spiritual hierarchy and the Council of Creation, the decision was made to request and allow an additional 100 million souls from other planets within the 4th through 5th and 6th dimensional states of consciousness to incarnate on Earth. They will assist in the Ascension process, starseeds. Also, many extraterrestrials from high-frequency planets have come back from the future to incarnate on Earth to be of assistance. I know that's hard to believe, but there are several different channeled sources that indicate that. Not starseeds, but you may be someone far from the future that has gone back and reincarnated in the past. Are you one of those 100 million who came to assist? If so, do you remember what you plan to do? How do you plan to help? Are you one of the repeaters, wondering how in the world you can get out of this melting pot called Earth? Have you really discovered who you are and why you're here on Earth at this very critical period in history? If you're a repeater, and over 6 billion of Earth's human inhabitants are, and you have a responsibility to help yourself, but you have also a responsibility to help the population of Earth. You will not be called upon to save the world yourself, but you can help yourself, your family and friends. By the way, Mother Earth will appreciate your help in designing the new Earth by remaining with your physical body during the next few years and connecting to your source, to that source energy that you know how to connect to send out love, joy, and peace to the Earth. One single person can make the difference. One person can raise the vibration of the entire planet. If you are a 6th density starseed, you can simply, through your own heart chakra, completely change everything. This procedure alone could dramatically increase the number of souls who will be able to qualify for graduation and ascend to the new Earth. You can spread the message about what is happening on Earth and awaken people that they are going through this graduation. There are ongoing energetic changes related to the universal cyclic patterns. As the solar system arrives at the end of these 75,000 year and 25,000 year galactic cycles, many changes must take place. The galaxy is changing frequency, and regions around the galaxy are becoming more highly charged. This charge is in part absorbed by our sun and radiated to all of the planets. As our solar system and its planets drift through the Milky Way galaxy, it passes through these different zones of energy, density, and cyclic patterns. This density shift also creates intelligent, complex torsion waves, twisting, helical, spiral waves, which in turn transform the DNA structure of life on each planet. As the DNA is altered, existing biological forms go through many different and dramatic changes. Scientists believe at the end of the previous 75,000 year cycle, the human body changed forms, and their change correlated with genetic changes. Archaeological discoveries indicate human brain significantly increased in size during this period. These more highly evolved forms with a larger brain replaced the older forms with a smaller brain. We are again approaching the end of the 75,000 year cycle. And many scientists believe we may experience a similar change in our brains. Some channeled information indicates that when this happens, the expanding brain, because of the rigidity of the skull, will have to push upwards through the soft spot of the skull to create a cone-shaped head. Also, when this happens, various genetic changes will alter the functionality of hair follicles, and humans will lose their ability to grow hair. Time will tell if these are real probabilities or possibilities, but just let me know and I can tell you all about it. As we approach the end of this 25,000-year cycle, we are experiencing an intense level of cosmic energy that is happening all over and is having an effect on our DNA and our physical, mental, and emotional bodies. Humans who plan to ascend will have their DNA upgraded. As you are well aware, graduation is an inside job. Individuals make their own changes in consciousness. Those changes in consciousness also change the DNA. As the events associated with the shift take place, an intense level of cosmic energy will arrive on Earth and become available for humanity. This increased energy will assist all individuals in shifting their dimensional consciousness from third to fourth and eventually to fifth dimension, according to Dolores Cannon. All a part of the graduation process. So the current shift in consciousness and impending ascension is a cyclic, galactic event that has been predicted for centuries and has now been scientifically documented astronomically, archaeologically, and geologically. Here are a few scientific observations that correlate with the shift as discussed by Wilcock, 2006. 1. A dramatic increase in solar activity over the past 10 years. Never seen before in recorded history has the sun released such intense radiation. 2. The moon is developing a gaseous atmosphere called natrium. 3. Earth's atmosphere contains an increased concentration of hydrogen oxide, HO gas, a gas previously at very low levels. 4. Global warming is occurring that has nothing to do with carbon dioxide, fluorocarbons, or other air pollutants. The temperature increase on Earth is due to increased spinning of the Earth's core, at least according to Wilcock. 5. Venus's brightness is increasing dramatically. 6. Ice caps are melting on Mars. 7. Earth's ice caps have been reduced by 40% in 30 years. The polar ice cap crystals must melt in order to release an enormous electromagnetic field. This electromagnetic field is stored within the ice crystals and contains the old codes of planetary resonance. These old codes must be released for the Earth to shift to the higher dimensions. Then, as the shift takes place, a new planetary resonance can be created. 8. Jupiter, the gaseous mass, is changing into a visible tube of ionizing, highly charged radiation. 9. The magnetic fields of Uranus and Neptune are changing significantly. 10. Voyager 2 found that Uranus and Neptune have had recent pole shifts. 11. Volcanic activity on Earth has increased 500% since 1975. 12. Natural disasters, hurricanes, mudslides, typhoons, tidal waves, and tornadoes on Earth have increased 410% between 1963 and 1975 and have continued to increase, obviously. 13. Astronomers in 2002 detected a 300% increase in the atmospheric pressure on Pluto. 14. The strength of the magnetic field of the sun has increased 230% since 1901. 15. The plasma energy around the solar system, the heliosphere created by the sun, has increased 1,000%, indicating the solar system is moving into a highly charged region of the galaxy. All of these changes and many more are required for the dimensional shift and the resulting increase in frequency of the solar system. I would definitely, for more information, read the December 2008 and 2012 and 2016 issues of the Sedona Journal of Emergence on Earth, changes and other predictions, and also related messages in different channelings. We've all heard that Earth changes will occur in association with the shift. In addition, we now understand that many different types of changes are occurring within our solar system. The universe, the galaxy, solar system, and all components of creation are changing. Evidently, what we are observing is conscious energy from all components of creation evolving through an ongoing cyclic process that leads humans towards a unity Christ consciousness. Keep in mind that every component of creation has consciousness. The sun, trees, even rocks, all consciousness is involved in this shift, and many components of creation are multidimensional, Check out my episode on the multidimensional consciousness and the new earth. When we consider cosmic changes in terms of the upcoming shift and ascension, we must realize that all is energy, and we are more than our physical bodies. There's no need to be fearful of the dramatic changes that occur at the end of these cycles. As these events take place, we can request and work to shift into a higher state of consciousness. As this shift occurs, the future of our old physical bodies becomes somewhat irrelevant. As we shift to the higher dimensions, we will take on new, less dense bodies and other significant changes. After ascension, we will be able to change our body's features by thought. This is the body that Neville Goddard is always talking about. When we awaken, finally, according to the promise, we're given a new garment. And this is the garment that he's talking about. Here are a couple of examples of how these cyclic patterns have influenced life forms on Earth. Geologists studying the Paleozoic era note that predominant species on Earth was a little crab called the trilobite. At the end of a cycle, these crabs all died, and their group soul evolved into the next stage of evolution. As a result, they entered a new, more advanced form. In like manner, the dinosaurs died. Their souls did not go anywhere. They evolved to incarnate as mammals. This is all discussed by U.S. Anderson when he talks about the universal mind and how we can see evolution from the fish to the duck, from the duck to the bird, from all of these different animals. They're all points in evolution by the universal mind. And as a soul ascends to inhabit a different body, it has in a sense graduated. So the fish look up to the outside and, hey, I want to be able to fly like a bird. Well, they move into another level of consciousness through their own creation, through their own minds, and that is a soul graduation. Your soul has gone through several of these evolutionary patterns. It's interesting when I hear the word evolution, having been in a relationship with somebody that was fundamentally Christian in a certain way, that the word evolution for her was a questioning of God and religion, and it's not. The perfect creation would have the ability to evolve. God has the perfect creation, and it evolves perfectly. We don't buy a computer with one operating system. We buy one with an operating system that is always evolving and updating. And that's what we are doing. It's a perfect creation. Evolution may be proof of creation. Evolutionary states of dimensional consciousness and graduation are everywhere. And there are at least 8 states of dimensional consciousness that all creations must ultimately pass through during their evolutionary pathways. Each dimension has a particular grade or quality of consciousness associated with it. In order to pass from one dimensional state of consciousness to another, an entity interested in progressing must attain and meet some basic qualifications in each dimension before moving upward and graduating. According to the Law 1 material, for example, the 3rd dimension includes the lessons of self-awareness and duality consciousness. The 4th dimension includes the experience of love and unity of all life, or unity Christ consciousness. For a soul to evolve from 3rd to 4th dimension, one must shift towards taking on unity consciousness. This is not just a belief in unity Christ consciousness. The potential graduate must consciously go through the experience of moving from duality consciousness to unity consciousness. Until that experience of oneness becomes a reality, a soul is unprepared to graduate and must continue to incarnate on a 3rd dimensional planet. That is, each soul assigns to itself, based on its state of dimensional consciousness, a specific planet designed for those experiences the evolving soul requires. Some souls may actually choose a lower frequency planet for a specific purpose. However, it is impossible for a low frequency soul to incarnate on a high frequency planet, even under specific conditions. That soul's physical body would be unable to survive because of its incompatibility with its environment. Each planet has its marching orders and must adhere to them. Earth has recently received its marching orders to shift from 3rd dimension to 4th dimension and 5th dimensional states of consciousness. Other planets have similar guidelines. However, each planet does have some decision-making powers as to how it will follow those guidelines. Each planet has some influence on the way life forms, evolves within its interior and on its surface. Each planet is also influenced by its position within the galaxy. Each galaxy has throughout its structure different energy densities and patterns that impact the planet as it moves through the galaxy. Each solar system rotates around the center of the galaxy on a prescribed path with very exact cyclic patterns and intervals. At certain points within the galaxy, spiraling torsion waves occur that transform the DNA of entities living upon the planet as it passes through the points. When this occurs, the genetic codes of the existing biological forms on the planet are altered by the torsion waves. As a result, the biological life forms evolve very rapidly, and new life forms rapidly replace the older, less developed forms. Those who remain with the fourth dimensional state of consciousness or in the astral plane will realize there is still some duality polarization, just like within the third dimension. Those choosing to remain within the fourth dimension have the choice to determine their own agendas as separate entities, whether they are discarnates, angels, or lower spirit forms. Some of these entities may choose to bypass the opportunity to shift to the fifth dimensional state of consciousness. With that choice, they can visit or interact with a third dimensional reality realm, but are restricted from entering a fifth dimensional reality realm. According to Ra, the end of this cycle occurred in December of 2012, and the planet Earth ended the dark portion of the 25,000-year cycle and entered into the light portion in 2013. The cycle corresponds to how long it takes the solar system to pass through a specific energy band or photon belt located within the Milky Way galaxy. Check out the book Earth Orbits the Galactic Center by Wilcock in 2006. Every time humanity has passed through these cyclic patterns, it has reached a high level of spiritual development during the light phase. During the dark phase, humanity falls backward spiritually in their fallen state. Humans have frequently destroyed Earth's environment, making the planet uninhabitable. Humans have again almost reached the point of destroying Earth's environment. Following each destructive period, the planet goes through a recovery period. Then extraterrestrials monitor the environmental conditions to determine when the planet can become habitable again. Once living conditions become favorable, various life forms and humans can return and proceed to complete another evolutionary cycle. For those interested, we should be able to learn how to take advantage of the coming light phase and accelerate our spiritual development. However, efforts will be required to control humanity's destructive tendencies. Along these lines, the spiritual realm has instituted a previously unheard of process designed to prepare our bodies. Some consider this change to be a transmutation towards ascension, according to a number of different authors. That is, during the periods just before the shift, the human body will be transformed and renewed, a process currently underway. By examining the experience of souls who have already gone through this transformation and ascended, we can hopefully learn from them. That's what we're doing with this material. If it's true, it's good to know. Recall that during the end of the last dark cycle on Atlantis, Pettit says the destruction included dramatic climatic change as a result of wars that filled the atmosphere with particulate matter and radioactivity. And as a result, a large proportion of the animal and human population was destroyed. However, there were some survivors, and during and following these destructions, spiritually advanced souls constructed cities inside the earth, and Pettit claims they relocated safely away from the surface chaos, and there are hundreds of cities inside the earth. A majority of these souls living have ascended to fifth dimensional state of consciousness or above. Who knows if any of this is true? It's a very interesting system to discuss. Let's discuss why it wouldn't be true. Tell me why. If we're hearing this from multiple sources that did not know about each other, that are reporting these numbers like the 25,000, 75,000 year periods of time, it really makes you wonder if there's some authenticity to it or a coordinated effort by these entities to mislead us. Who knows? But I believe there's some authenticity towards it. It feels right to me. We're on this path. It's a weird planet. We've got a lot of different people, a lot of different soul groups competing with each other. It's so easy to be manipulated. We have groups that have negative polarity, have done an amazing job of manipulating this planet. So maybe, just maybe, We're going through this huge shift, and it's a part of a cyclic shift in our own evolutions. And that's why I wanted to discuss human evolution and the cyclic nature of events occurring on the earth. It's all a part of a cycle, and you're going through it now. And that's what we're experiencing. That's why we are experiencing the new earth. It's a part of these cycles that the earth goes through. In any case, I'd love to get your feelings on this topic. What do you think we're going through? Is this a part of a cycle? What experiences have you had that have confirmed or denied this idea that is discussed in the Law of One? I want to know what you think. Put a like on the video if you can. All episodes of The Reality Revolution can be found at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.